Dino Eggs. Microfun, 1983. This phenomenal David Schroeder creation was originally written for the Apple II. I've never played that version, but I can't imagine that it's nearly as good as the C64 adaptation. I'm basing this guess on my mercifully limited experiences with Apple products of any kind, unless one counts the Beatles label. The game was converted by the awesomely named Leonard Bertoni. I could tell right away that a fellow Sicilian had programmed it. The ledges look like pepperonis. You are Time Master Tim. In a world, one man. That was my commercial for Dino Eggs. Anyway, this is one of those games that beckon viscerally whenever you even happen to think about playing them, you know? One of the reasons I love it, and something that certainly sets it apart from all other single-screen platformers of the era, is that everything on the playfield is placed randomly. From game to game and level to level, no ledge layout or dinosaur egg arrangement is ever repeated. Schroeder and/or Bertoni managed to achieve this while ensuring that every ledge could be reached in one way or another. Masterful. The game demonstrates one of the most successful combinations of action and puzzle elements that I've ever encountered. At first glance, it can be mistaken for yet another simple climbing scenario. But reaching the top, or filling in the ground with the dirt on your shoes, for instance, is not your objective. Instead, you're supposed to steal as many eggs as possible before exiting each level. If you wish to play the game normally, simply grab up to 3 eggs at a time by standing above them, pushing downward and pressing the fire button once per egg. Then walk to your portal and use the same controller combination to warp away. Your portal will vanish and reappear in a different random spot. You'll be empty-handed again, having received points for the pinched eggs. No omelets in Tim's future, though. This is a rescue mission, time traveler. As explained in the scrolling storyline on the title screen, you're taking the eggs and hatchlings in order to deposit them in a safer era, one in which you haven't unintentionally spread the measles. This sort of thing reminds us that Doc Brown's warnings should always be heeded. Notice that fire burning. If you don't start one within about 30 seconds, or less on later levels, the gigantic dinosaur mother will show up and try to flatten you. You'll see a warning message and, after a few more seconds, a giant leg. It will emerge from the top border and move swiftly downward, stomping the ledge that you're standing on. The leg's X position is indiscriminate, but sooner or later your luck will run out. The risk of being turned into tomato sauce is reason enough to get a fire going the instant you can. If you want to play in the especially involved way for which the game allows, maximizing your score and thus your extra Tims, kindle as many successive fires as possible throughout each level, 2 or 3 depending on how many pieces of wood are available. Drop a piece in your chosen spot, go get another one, and drop it on top of the first. You should only have to start 1 fire from scratch. You can add an extra piece of wood as each blaze nears exhaustion, you see, bringing its single-digit countdown back up to 9. If you let it reach 0 and burn out, you'll have to start over by combining 2 pieces again, shortening the amount of time in which you can safely remain on the level. When a fire's time indicator has fallen to 1, the flames are replaced with smoke. The Dino Mom continues to stay away until it's completely out, but the now merely smoky site can be traversed without losing a Tim. This is when the next piece of wood can be dropped onto it. Upon its return to 9, it won't become deadly again until it reaches 8, and the smoke is once again replaced with flames. I head for the fire when its timer is dropped to 2, so I have time to reach it before it hits 0. Another good strategy is to drop as much timber as you can near the existing fire while you're waiting for eggs to hatch. More on that in a moment, just so you won't have to take a wood gathering detour later, when other things might be pressing. Choose one location for your consecutive fires over which you won't require later passage. The top ledges are usually the best, as there can be no misstep from above to send you into the flames. Granted, you can jump over a fire, even adding wood before it reaches one if you like. This is tricky, however, as you have to line yourself up perfectly. There's no sense in creating an unnecessary hazard. You cannot start fires at the tops of ladders, so at least there's no chance of accidentally blocking yourself from climbing. Once the fire's been sorted out, the high-scoring player will allow baby dinosaurs to hatch, instead of simply stealing all the eggs as quickly as possible. The reason I've just gone on and on the subject of arson is that prolonging the current level's fire time allows you to capture most and sometimes all of the babies that can possibly surface, increasing your score immensely. The real incentive is that you're given an extra Tim every 200 points. Yeah, this game involves low scoring, but it's all relative to itself, of course. Christopher's nature tip. Employ the same tactic when you're out camping for real. Take some time to explore the area and locate the top of the screen before you get your campfire going. You know, a lot of people who like to go camping don't even know there's a top of the screen. Can you imagine? Back to the game. Oddly enough, it begins on level 0. Early on, pieces of wood are seldom concealed by egg sacs, those things that look like colorful meatballs, which, as you might have guessed, typically harbor eggs. As the levels progress, there's ultimately more wood to be had than what's immediately visible. Any creature that travels into the flames will die. Apparently they haven't evolved eyes yet, so you're safe from the spiders that irksomely leap from the very top of the playfield if you're standing directly below the fire. You're also protected from everything but the Dino Mom when you're standing inside your portal. Spiders that land on you there will die. Ha! Boosting your score by an enormous single point apiece. Other life forms do gradually appear. There are slithering pieces of prehistoric spaghetti, and a bit later flying chunks of Parmesan. I'm just running with the Italian food thing. Consistency is good in a book. Collision won't kill you right away. The percentage readout in the lower left corner will begin to count down. It will head back upward, stopping when it peaks again, if you can make it back to your portal before it hits 0%. Just stand inside until you're completely healed. Otherwise, you'll devolve into a spider. Now that's some shaky evolutionary theory. Perhaps there's something Tim isn't telling us. Maybe he's really Spider-Man. He doesn't die from long falls, so who knows? In any case, touching a creature does kill it, so at least it won't annoy you any further. Colliding with two before returning to the portal causes the percentage to decrease twice as fast, and so forth. The initial countdown speeds up as the level advances. Upon contact, you also lose any eggs you're carrying, and this slightly reduces your score. Baby dinosaurs stay in their cages, however. On that subject, after a baby has hatched, jumping over him surrounds him with a magical fence of sorts. He'll then warp away when you do. In the meantime, the enclosure protects him from you. Touching a free hatchling will kill him and affect you as if you've run into a meanie. The babies hatch at random. Only one at a time, free or caged, can occupy each row of ledges. A maximum of 3 can exist simultaneously. They are not harmed upon contact with any of the other creatures. Take care not to drop an egg sac onto any hatchling, however, or you'll squash him. If you've decided to situate the fire on a lower ledge, a falling sac will extinguish that as well. You can kill one of the living foods. Okay, there's supposed to be various forms of primeval life, with a sac from above. All of these intricacies add up to a very elaborate, compelling game. It's as though Schroeder thought of everything. The rather simplistic-looking platformer turns out to be a graceful operation of carefully worked-out details. Here's a good extra tip. Before or just after you light the first fire, move any existing eggs from your chosen ledge. If one of them cracks open while you're elsewhere, The baby will eventually wander into the flames and get roasted. They're not very good without marshmallows to allay the bitter aftertaste. Move is the operative word. Again, if you're score-minded, you should actually warp away with as few eggs as possible. Since you can drop anything you're carrying, simply disperse the eggs evenly among the lower 3 rows, while you're waiting for them to hatch. It's a good idea to relocate any eggs found at the top anyway. When you're trying to grab them later, or cage babies, you won't have time to get out of the way if a spider happens to leap while you're strolling just beneath him. Spiders crawl back and forth above the highest ledges, finally jumping at random. As the level number rises, they deliberately target you more frequently. No matter how far you've progressed, you don't want to spend much time on the top row if you can avoid it. Through level 2, try to push all the sacs away promptly, exposing any hidden eggs and increasing the hatching odds. Also, when the last fire goes out and the mother shows up, you won't want to take the extra time to search under sacs that might hide nothing at all. Releasing upper sacs knocks off any that are suspended directly below. Occasionally, all 3 babies will come out of their shells fairly quickly. At other times, the waiting can try your patience, but you can use this opportunity to move timber closer to the fire, as noted before. A hatchling will erratically meander on his ledge, but if you're sharing it with him, as opposed to simply inhabiting the same overall row, he'll head toward you, making himself easier to hurdle. Return to your portal once you've trapped 3 hatchlings inside their shimmering playpens. When you warp out, they'll disappear and raise your score by 6, 8, and 12 points, respective to the order in which you've caged them. Now up to 3 more can hatch. Loose brood will still be there when your portal rematerializes. Warping while carrying wood will destroy it. If you try to use the portal when you're empty-handed, and no kids are incarcerated, you'll be asked if you'd like to leave the cliff, i.e. end the level. Attempting to warp a second time means yes. You'll advance to the next, differently colored assortment of ledges, eggs, and sundry, but you'll lose points for any eggs left behind. If they're all accounted for, however, you'll receive 10 bonus points. Starting on level 9, these rise to 50. The spiky thing dangling from that ledge there is a power flower. That's really what it's called in the manual. Too cool. Picking this up will increase your carrying capacity from 3 eggs to 6. This helps when eggs remain but your last fire has gone out. Once the Dino Mom is at large, as it were, you'll want to leave the cliff quickly. The power, which doesn't occupy inventory space and therefore cannot be dropped, is also very useful on higher levels when you want to minimize the amount of hatched eggs due to the kidnapping spiders that I'll talk about in a minute here. If you collide with one of the nasties, you'll lose the power and your maximum load will halve again. Half. I don't know. Get cut in half. But if you avoid this until you pluck a second flower, your limit grows to 9. This is difficult to pull off, as only 1 flower appears per level. He usually doesn't turn up at all until you're a couple of levels in. When the fires are gone and you're making your way back to the portal for the last time, stick to the extreme left and right sides of the screen so you can dodge the giant leg by wrapping to the other side. This can be timed as the leg appears at uniform intervals. There's even a genuine safe spot. You'll never be crushed while you're standing within the border, bisecting yourself between screen edges. One never sees half of a giant leg, and this drives Dino Dads wild. Speaking of dads, where has this one gone? Has he left her to raise them on her own? Can even dinosaurs chase off their men by nagging? If he were here, he'd probably help me out. Yeah, get some of these kids out of here, will ya? Anyway, the dino babies are more afraid of their mother than anyone is. Eggs will not hatch unless there's a fire keeping her away. I suppose it's feasible that they're simply attracted to the warmth, but it's hard to tell as they can't talk yet. What's certain is that they also can't wrap between the side borders like you can. From level 3 onward, a spider will land on any ledge past which he happens to drop. if an unbound hatchling wanders there. If you don't stop him, he'll carry out an abduction and resume his descent with the dino pup in his clutches, ultimately carrying him off the cliff, i.e. beyond the bottom of the screen. You'll lose 10 points this way, as if you've trod upon the baby or mushed him with an egg sac. The latter can occur even when he's caged, by the way. 10-point losses are huge in this game. For reference, after waiting for as many hatchlings as 3 fires have allowed, caging at least 5 sets of 3, my highest score at the end of level 0 has been 165. If you even surpass 2 digits before level 1, you're doing well. Curiously, a baby will march right up to a landed spider. So that's how it is. The kid forgets all about poor Tim and heads straight for the creep, who I guess is saying, "If you come with me, you'll get candy and toys, and you'll never have to go to dinosaur school." Cruel bastard. Spiders bug me. I don't have a phobia or anything. There's just something wrong there. Never mind the wannabe octopus legs. A spider has 8 eyes. That's just wrong. What is it, an alien? I don't know what these spiders want with the infants in the first place. Do they eat them? Then why doesn't Tim eat them himself if he's secretly a spider, instead of trying to be Mr. Liberator? So many mysteries to be solved in Dino Eggs. Starting on level 3, then your priorities change. Rapidly grab and warp away with all exposed eggs. From now on, you'll usually only need to start 1 fire per level, as you won't be waiting around for maximum hatchery. Dislodge a sac only when no eggs remain in view. When you get down to a single ledge's worth, you can wait for 1 hatchling at a time if you wish, since you won't have to roam far. If a kidnapping does take place, jump through the spider's single strand of webbing to kill him. The freed baby will land on the next ledge down. If there's still a fire burning on any level when the eggs are gone, postpone your departure and linger on a middle row, hunting spiders. They each yield only 1 point, but this adds up throughout the game, compensating for any points lost or child bereavement. Besides, there's great satisfaction in breaking a web and watching a spider fall to his death. Did you hear that, Mr. Spider? If that is your real name. Level 9 repeats indefinitely. 2 simultaneous fires are now required to ward off the primordial pedicure. The mom presumably has too many calluses by this point to fear just 1. Tim really should have worn a pointy hat. You'll be given enough wood to achieve this, but it's a precarious undertaking anyway. I generally just stay alive as long as possible. No matter where the portal appears, there's usually sufficient time to collect the nearest eggs, as they are now plentiful. Dino Eggs is one of the greatest single-screen platform games ever written, and it's infinitely more interesting than any game that might feature, say, the evolutionary descendants of dinosaurs and giant spiders, gorillas and short fat men with mustaches. Next, LEM.